life of the circus. Off she went with a trumpet, trump, 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 trump. I always think of that song when I took on a car that's the worst car I ever had, and I hated it and I couldn't wait to get rid of it. And sometimes you have things like that, you think, I can't wait to see this thing go. And I tell you about the car, and I'll show you this as well. Look at this, some treacle, you see, and this is a sort of a long cane. And you might think, what has this got to do with a car? Well, quite a lot really, because stirring treacle with a long thin cane was how the motoring correspondent of the London Times described a car that was launched just at its launch, and he was talking about changing gear on the car, doing that, trying to find the gear. And he's talking about this car, the one that I was dumped with, a bloody Austin Maxi. And it was like this little model. The one I inherited was shit brown, the same as this thing. Terrible car. Well, how did I come to get that? Well, quite frankly, I was given it as payment by my mother, because she had inherited this company. I might have mentioned it before, a little company in Nottingham, from a distant relative, and it's about to go bust. Anyway, the managing director left the bank, fell out with him, and he had a company car, and this was it. So my mother said to me, you know, Vaughan, what you can do, we can't pay you any money to help me run the company, but you can have this car to drive around in. Bloody hell, it was awful. I mean, it was actually like, you know, the monitoring correspondent said, is the gear third or second or something like this over here? Where the hell is it? It's a shame really, because it was a good concept. It was designed by Alec Isigonis, who designed the Morris Minor and also the Mini, and it was a good idea of getting maximum space in a car that wasn't too long and too easier to park and that sort of thing. And you had all these fancy things like hydroelastic suspension. They broke down all the time, of course. Windscreen wipers fell off, and so on and so forth. And it was like a great, stupid, well, a heffalump of a car to drive, which is why I thought of that song, Nelly the Elephant. And I couldn't wait to get rid of it. In fact, I couldn't get rid of it at all. The problem was that these British cars of the 70s, like this one particularly, but there are other cars like the Austin Ambassador, which the head of Ford called a flying turd of a car. Those sort of cars, the ideas in them were okay. They were sort of quite cleverly ideas, but it was the way they were put together or not put together. Every car was a Friday car. Every car was a that'll do mate sort of thing. And that's why they were always going wrong, and why water came into them, and hydroelastic suspension, however fancy it was, didn't work properly because it wasn't fitted together properly. The things weren't fitted together. You won't see that in a German car or a French car or in any car. And that led to the demise of the British motor industry because of the strikes and things like that, and the relationship between the management and the workforce, and it resulted in people being bloody minded and not putting the cars together. So I had this thing, and shit awful car. And I tried to get rid of it. I lived in London, and I tried to get rid of it there, easier than Nottingham. Maybe it's the wrong way around. And people came and looked at it, and they said, no thank you, and I couldn't get rid of it for love or money. And then I was introduced to a little guy called Chris, a little guy he worked in a garage in one of those arches near St Pancras Station, railway arch. And he said he'd PSF it, which he may have meant prepared for sale. Prepared PFS, yeah, prepared for sale. And it came back all gleaming and everything like that. And it looked like a brand new car. It didn't cost very much. And anyway, a guy came to buy it, and he drove off in it, and he gave me the money, and I paid it to the company. And later on, when I gave Chris his money, I said, what do you do with it? He says, well, I says, cleaned up the engine. I said, I saw all that. I said, I said, well, the guy really won't it. He said, oh, I would want it because it's low mileage. I said, what do you mean it's low mileage? It's done 97,000 miles, I think. He says, oh no, it's when it was PSF, we got that down to 41,000 miles. I thought, that's not very nice, is it? But you know, I didn't ring up the owner, I didn't know the owner, and I thought, you know, sometimes you just can't wait to see the back of something. You think you'll do anything to get rid of it. And I got rid of this bloody thing, which brings you to this. And Donald Trump packed his trunk and said goodbye to the White House. Off he went with a trumpety trump, 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 trump. And Donald Trump packed his trunk and said